Due to the shoddy condition of the Marauder, and the fact that the patched tire was literally being held together with my hopes and dreams, I had taken it upon myself to drive the whole way. It had gone great for the first hour, crossing the dark wastes with little more than a sighting of life, but stupid me had forgotten that it had been over a month since the first frost, and tonight the temperature here dipped way below freezing, and the next 2 hours was a stress test from hell. If it was the one good thing about my barding, was that it had been warm, but seeing as it lasted all of 24 hours before it was destroyed, I'm now freezing my flank off. The lack of a windshield had stopped the heat from my body bit by bit, and it was getting hard to focus. So I did the only thing I knew that would keep me thinking straight. I flipped on the radio. In other news, is that reports have been coming in that the trade hub of Futura has fallen under siege by those alicorn monstrosities that have been a bane on the wastes for years. Well, my little ponies, instead of turning tail and running like sensible folk, the good folk there decided to stick it up to them and fought back. I can sense you're all wondering whether you can cross Futura off your travel maps. But as it turns out, the fighting attracted the attention of our ever-present eyes in the sky. That's right, the Pegasi Enclave decided to show up and do some good for once, chasing off the attackers and saving the hub before disappearing back above the cloud cover. So if you're planning to make a run out there to do some trade, fear not, because Futura isn't just a memory of the old world just yet. There was a lot that DJ Pwn 3 needed to hear when we got back there, starting with the fact that Willow was going to hold off the goddess, and that 42 plans to make her final stand at the bridge. I also needed to ask if he can call in any big favors to Friendship City, so we can take their Hydrospark regulator and smash it to bits without too many repercussions. When this all started, he told me that the resources of the tower were at my disposal. Well, it's time to see if I can use them. And it looks like we've got our first request of the night. The note here reads, "To my very special friend, Backlash. Can't stand the thought of another night without you. With love, Scarlet Letter." Fuck you, 42. I get it. You're impatient. Well, sounds like some ponies to hurry back and give them a night to remember. Here's a song just for you two. It's Sweetie Belle with We'll Meet Again. I shut the radio off angrily, ignoring the groan from Frosted Cakes it gave off as we went back to writing again in silence. 42 doesn't need to remind me what I need to do. She just needs to sit still long enough when I get there for me to shoot her down. With nothing but the whistling winds of the darkened wasteland, and the thumping of the engine to listen to, I felt the cold get even worse by the minute. After what seemed like forever, we had barely made it to the still burning remains of the pool before I was shivering so badly I couldn't steer anymore. The others agreed that if we didn't get me warmed up soon, I probably wouldn't even make it past Red Wing. Thank you. I smiled up to Longbow weakly as my pip-buck clicked slowly. My muscles were relaxing more and more by the minute, and I expected us to get out of here soon. She had taken it upon herself to trot me to the remains of the Red Lantern, to try and find a blanket amongst the ruins, while a small balefire fire in an old barrel warmed me up. Maybe if she couldn't find anything, I could rest until warm, and then we could just take a few to warm up at Red Wing. I could use the time there to inform them of the Rangers' need to convert the pile driver's engine to an alcohol one, so Pariah wouldn't be caught off guard. That, and I should probably inform him that the Rangers coming in the first place. I hope that something would have survived the blast, but I can't find a washcloth that's even not entirely burnt up. Mambo sounded angry as she spoke up, but fortunately it wasn't directed at me. I thought about asking about it, but we needed to focus on getting to Tenpony. How the fuck can she live with herself? The anger bled through as it looked like she was going to answer me on her own. She can walk through a ranger base without issue. So what is she waiting for? Why all the theatrics? It was a good point, but I already know the answer. It's a game to her. It's always been. I pushed myself up, my muscles feeling nice and hot now. And games are no fun to play unless you have some pony to beat. She wants to try to win, even with how improbable it seems. I could feel my stomach clench up as talking about it was bringing my rage to a boil. But I know I will win. Don't you fucking say that. Longbow poked her head up over the charred pile of wood that used to be the roof. Just because she sees it as a game doesn't mean it is. The moment you start treating it that way, you've already lost. I blinked at the words of wisdom sunk in. She was right. The stakes were real here, not something I could just shrug away when everything was over. Why have I been pulling in so deep to start thinking that way? Was it because 42 is treating it like it was all along? Or have I done it to try and convince myself that the repercussions of my choices have all been justified as long as I kill 42? You know, if you're cold. A raspy, unfamiliar voice called from yet another pile of rubble a few rooms down. I have this rug here. That might work. The green-tinted light of a pip-buck shone under the fabric of a large cloth as a dark hoof waved it over the pile the stranger was behind. As the blanket shifted on their hoof, I could see it wasn't a pip-buck. Rather, it was the glowing exposed leg muscles of a ghoul. The ragged glowing stallion in a torn-up lab coat trot out from the reins of one of the other rooms of the hotel, pulling a rotted-looking wooden cart behind him as he filled it with an assortment of items. "Stop right there!" Longbow's voice was calm and controlled as the autoloaders of her rifle whirled and clicked. But she knew she wouldn't hesitate if the ghoul tried anything. Thankfully, the stallion did as she asked. He sat down and raised his hooves in the air. Okay. I'm just trying to help." He lowered the hoof, holding the rug, holding it out towards me as he gave me a smile. His tone was genuine about helping us, and his expression, well, what was left of his face, showed no attempt to deceive us. "You smoothcoats can freeze if you want, but I was under the impression you needed it." "Thanks." Longbow answered with a high amount of suspicion, levitating the stained cloth over to me. I quickly bit down on the corner, ignoring the moldy taste as I rolled myself over and wrapped it around my shivering body. Longbow relaxed, lowering her weapon as she looked around for a moment. "What exactly are you doing here?" "Really? A pony walking through a ruined wasteland with a cart full of junk, and you're wondering what I'm doing here." He let out a wheezing laugh that made me wonder if he was trying to force out a lung rather than express amusement. He turned his head to the rubble pile beside him and began hoofing through it. "I'm just doing the same as you all, trying to make a living off the dead." "What do you want for it?" Longbow spoke up with a sigh, sounding like she had finally realized that he wasn't really a threat. Her words perked his ears up and drew his gaze over, a confused look hanging over his face. "Want for what now?" He looked almost surprised at his own question. Maybe Longbow should be on edge, as this ghoul looked as if he could lose his mind and go feral at any moment. "For the blanket. I don't have much, but I'm grateful." She continued as I squinted my one eye at his coat. I could barely make out the image of the symbol for the Ministry of Arcane Sciences, wondering just where he found something like that. Maybe he'd been in another hub or some other research facility. "You can take it for free. Consider it a gift from a friend." He smiled as I'm about to turn around before he stopped himself, a literally bright smile forming across his muzzle. "Funny story, actually. A few years back, I met another glowing one, quite a bit up north from here. She kept going on and on about the importance of friendship. I didn't think about it at the start, but it really helped me sort some things out in a way when I was in a bad way. She encouraged me to help others in the name of friendship as payment, so that's what I've been trying to do." He put his hoof on his chin and rubbed it, making the rotted skin around it stretch his gaping open sections of skin in a way that was just too gruesome to look away from. "Wait, was it a few years back? Or was it a few from now? Everything gets so jumbled up in here, you know." He laughed again, tapping his head before wheezing developed into a set of hacks that caused him to spit out a black mess onto the dirt by Longbow. Sorry about that. I'm rambling. Aren't I? May I ask, where did you get that coat from? As odd of a ghoul as he seemed to be, with the thought of freezing now out of my mind, my curiosity was killing me. Are you from before the war? Yes, sirree. Used to work for the Ministry of Arcane Sciences as a administrative assistant. He straightened his stance, speaking proudly, his voice faltering at its title. Well, I was going to be one. Was just a young intern when the bombs fell. He shook his head and his tone to make it clear that he didn't enjoy dwelling on the past. A smile returned as he nodded towards us and turned around. Good luck to the both of you. Remember what I told to tell you, and that is the friendship is magic. And with that, he trotted around the corner of the red lantern and disappeared into the night. Now that I have a blanket, do you want to leave before... I started, Longbow cutting me out before I could finish. Before any pony wearer than him shows up? Yeah. She walked over as her horn flared, her magic picking me up and setting me on her back lightly. I was truly grateful for the help, and wanted to get his name so I could track him down later and properly thank him. But 10 pony was more important. So, I guess that means I'm driving? I gave Longbow a smile, happy to be snug and as a rad bug in my rug, even if it was made my coat itchy. As we left the town and approached the bridge, I gave a small sigh and let my vision drop to the rocky road below me. Longbow, at the other end of the bridge, do you mind? It was the last place I'd seen Brass alive. I just wanted to say my last goodbye from the spot where his life ended. I didn't have to look up to know Longbow gave a nod to understand. Trotting swiftly across the creek, half-burned beams of the bridge that marked the entrance to the graveyard that the pool had become. She stopped just before where he had died, turning so I could look at the spot. It's funny how quickly the wasteland can swallow a pony. Nothing remained in the spot where he fell. No trace of a stain, no sign that my best friend had ever been there. I hated it. I wanted to build a monument about him, made of the sternest stuff I could find, just to show the ponies of the decades to come that Brass Tax had been one of the finest damn ponies to ever exist, and that the wasteland wasn't just going to remove every sense of hope and innocence from it. That's what I wanted, but that was not what the wasteland was going to allow me to do. Maybe, after I kill 42, I'll come back and build it. He deserves more than he got, and he deserves to be known. Alright, Longbow, let's go. I muttered softly, closing my eyes and listening as the howling of the frigid winds. We've still got a long night's drive ahead of us. As we got back into the car and pulled back onto the road, I leaned against Longbow and gave a yawn. I did sleep all day, but I might as well get a quick nap in before we drove. I regret not taking one back at the Ranger HQ, so why not take advantage of my free time at this moment? I closed my eyes, the gears in my head spinning up, throwing out the idea of listening to the last audio log on my Pip-Buck. I might as well, seeing as I still hadn't switched the fuses back. So with a quick flinch, I slipped into Sats, and the world around me grew to a halt. I selected the audio log with my thoughts and played it, listening as it crackled softly before the voice of Twilight Sparkle came through. Ministry of Arcane Sciences, Chief Twilight Sparkle, Project Log 32. Project Golem Final Project Status Report. With no data pointing to just what in the cloning process went wrong, too high of risks to the well-being of the staff to attempt to repeat the experiment, and the trouble that Subject 42 has given us, I'm shutting the project down as of today. This log will contain my personal thoughts on the program for later reference. I am disappointed that I could not help ease the burden of those fighting on the front lines of this project, but an idea that Fluttershy brought up the other day may have rendered this program obsolete altogether. Part of me is glad to see that Subject 42 destabilized as far as she did. If this kind of mental degradation had taken any longer to show up, then there's no telling what kind of disaster this project would have taken a turn out to be. And that said, I do have one final point of data to log. In attempting to recall Subject 42 back to the mirror pond, my spell appeared to have no effect on her, leading me to believe that the magic process in the water was so corrosive that she simply cannot be broken down and sent back. I wouldn't go so far as to call her a real pony, but she definitely is not a basic clone like the others. Killing the subjects would be a waste, as after the war, I might like to revisit the project and devise just what went wrong. And if 42 can be rehabilitated, then there is a hope that she could become a protective member of Pony Society. I offered to store her at the newly completed East Orchard, but Pinky refused, telling me that she has a place in mind that will keep her locked away. But I'm not sure that kind of place she has in mind. I'll have to make sure she doesn't, she shows me next time I'm in Manhattan with a scheduled opening. On a related note, Subject 42's last words before being sedated for transport was that she will rise after the fall of Equestria to raise an army to conquer the world. As unlikely as it may seem, 1,000-year prophecies have become a surprisingly bad problem for us, all not too many years ago. For this reason, I'm sealing the mirror pond inside its transport containers, and then sealing those inside of a protective casing of quartz, not unlike the ones to absorb any magical energy a control console might give off that would be harmful. This should assume that I'm the only pony who knows of its location. It cannot fall into the wrong hooves under any circumstances. For now, my next project is to help Pinky set up her new Pinky Sense expansion idea. She and Zecora have brewed up what they say could be a mentally functional enhancement powder that they want me to take a look at. My next audio log will be the start of that project. Project Golem is now officially closed. End of final report. As the log clicked to an end, I thought to cancel sats, slowly returning back to real time. A few things in the log troubled me. The first was that she mentioned another pony had a program that was worse than this one, and that it was suggested by the one who the museums told me had thought up the megaspells in the first place. Wait, or was it the megaspells that Twilight was talking about? I don't know, nor do I care to get involved in anything else pre-war from any of the ministries. One psychotic abomination was already one too many for my lifetime. No need to go awakening anymore. The other thing that troubled me was that I still have no idea where the pond was or how to destroy it. I let out another yawn, shutting my eyes slowly as we cruised along the dark wastes. I just needed to focus on killing 42, because once she's dead, I can find the pool. But before anything else tonight, I'm going to need a quick nap. As most of my ideas in the last month have been, falling asleep turned out to be a really bad idea. I woke to the sound of gunshots pinging off the Marauder before the engine over-revved, and I was suddenly thrown airborne. I barely had enough time to register the sound of the Marauder rolling over and crashing before I slammed into the dirt. My warm rug twisted up tightly enough that it kept my legs from being broken as I rolled. Whoo! Now that's how you fucking kill some ponies! I didn't recognize the voices that filled my ears, but as I opened my eyes, I found myself staring at the east face of Tenpony, where the sun was brightening from the edge of the horizon. The heavy groan of my poor car as it was pushed over made me wonder if Skyline and the others were alright, but the immediate surge of gunfire that erupted from the crash made me glad that they had been wearing their cheater armor, though Carlotta hadn't had any. Shit. I groaned and got to my hooves, shaking my dizziness off before feeling like some pony yanked my tail and pulled me to the ground. I panicked as I was dragged away from my rug and pulled against the rusting hulk of a sky chariot. You moron. Don't go standing up without a gun. Carlotta's voice was furious as she pulled my saddlebags open. Here, take this, now kill them all. She handed me one of the twins, taking the other one for herself and trying to figure the best way to use it in her talons, before pulling herself up to the wreck of fire and fired a few shots over it. I bit down on the gun I was given and pushed myself up, spotting the group attacking us and presumably had locked down Tenpony Tower. It was a fairly well-known gang from the north end of Manhattan. zebra supremacists who made any pony who wanted to join bleach their coat and have stripes permanently burned onto them. A funny thing was that I'd never actually seen an actual zebra in their ranks. That is, until today. We do not get paid to die. You are zebra. You fight like zebra. And you get paid to win. The zebra speaking moved like none I had seen before, effortlessly dodging every rocket, grenade round, and burst of fire the ragers laid down. If that was an experienced zebra fighter, I'm glad I've never found myself fighting against Zin. I growled around the bit of my gun in my muzzle, taking my time to try and get a shot lined up, finally pulling the trigger. The hammer fell on an empty cylinder as I realized I hadn't reloaded since the last fight we were in when leaving Manhattan. As though some sort of divine pardon for my lack of ammo, the zebra leader exploded into bloody ribbons. The gas rounds that punched through him spread his bits on the others around him. The sudden meat spray, and lack of continued speech, caused a few of his comrades to stop and look, consequently allowing the Rangers to mow them down. The fighting was over in another few seconds, as the last of the gangsters who had any intelligence hit the dirt and threw their weapons down. "Clear!" Maple shouted, strutting out from behind the crumpled form of my car. Now that I had a second to survey the scene, I could see just how many had been keeping the tower at bay. There were at least 50 striped bodies around. I turned my gaze back to where the Marauder lay, wanting to feel angry that it had been totaled, but Longbow dipped around the side and looked over to me. I couldn't help but feel like nothing else mattered but her. I trotted over to her and threw my hooves around her in a tight hug. Maple cleared his throat as he trot up from one of the surrendered zebra mares. Or should I still call her a pony? Savages. Maple's voice was instantly filled with the pompous attitude he had lacked since leaving Ranger HQ. Frosted Cakes trotted over and stomped on the SMG that lay next to another surrendering stallion. Frosty, can you honestly believe that a pony could be so idiotic as to think they could take on a squad of us civilized Rangers and win? No, sir. But they can't be all that stupid. She trotted around one of the other guns laying on the ground and smashed it with her hooves. They surrendered, didn't they? I do believe you have a point. Regardless, follow protocol and gather them all up. They can be overly violent with each other, if they still want to fight. He turned towards me and gripped at his helmet, taking it off and flashing a smile on me. Oh, and if anyone gets pushy with you, just, shoot them. Shoot them, sir? Frosted asked with a tone of heavy uncertainty, a tone I would have shared, seeing as that seemed to just contradict everything he just said. She huffed and rolled her eyes, as the few survivors got the hint and huddled up. I thought we were the civilized ones. Then shoot them politely. He sighed and continued over, stopping as a screech of talons on metal made every pony shiver. We've already given them much more mercy than they'd have given us. Politely shoot gangsters makes the difference between civilized and not? Skyline's snarkiness was a welcome to my ears. Another gunfight finished, and my family was safe. Skyper hooves to her cheeks and feigned shock. I've been going about killing bad ponies wrong all these years. Oh, Luna, forgive me. Sky flopped back onto the rusted chariot behind her, looking back over to where Carlotta was. Then she turned pale. Suture, get over here now! Skyline called out as she ducked behind the car we used as cover. Carlotta screamed out as the rest of us ran over, Skyline hoofing at Carlotta's rear hind leg, which was off-center and twisted almost backwards. Now for the other one. 1, 2... Just fucking! Carlotta let another scream as Skyline pulled her broken leg into alignment. The jutting piece of bone that stuck from the knee didn't slip back in, instead shifting just enough to let a fresh line of blood pulse down into the dirt. Suture just pushed past us, barking orders to Skyline, as I stopped hearing things in the world around me, which was odd, seeing as it wasn't the only thing that had stopped. Why couldn't I feel anything anymore? I screamed out, pain washing over me in an instant, as it had before when I was inside the orchard. Immediately, I lost focus on everything. able to do nothing other than feel my body was being immolated slowly from the inside out. I had shrugged off the other injuries I've gotten recently because they weren't as bad compared to what I felt my body when it mutated. Hell, even having to remove my rear legs had been better than this, purely for the fact that I could pass out. I clenched my eyes shut, as the tears coming from it felt like they were made of jagged glass. My legs had locked themselves, even as they burned. My mind had made sure I didn't fall over, knowing that it would feel much worse. As pain burned and churned inside of me, feeling like the bubbling I had felt after being saved with the Hydra. My eyes shot open as the feeling spiked against my chest, making my muscles spasm, pain exploding from my forelegs and making me drop down. The added pain didn't take anything away from the bubbling moving up my throat, the pressure making me release a gurgling scream before I puked out globs of half-liquid, half-coagulated blood. As I lived through the hell that engulfed my body, the one thing that gave me peace was the view of Longbow standing over me. But while my vision started to fade, and my body started to lose feeling, I couldn't help but feel like it wasn't fair. Everything had just started to go my way, and I couldn't afford to die without killing 42. At the very least, maybe I'll wake up with a few of those superpowers Pink had joked about. That is, if I woke up at all. I opened my eyes slowly, as I heard the dull electronic humming of some pieces of equipment nearby. The stinging pain of whatever the hell had happened to me was now gone. The bright lights of Tenpony Infirmary met my eyes, and the Pip-Buck's clock in my vision told me that it was 9 a.m. My good ear picked up the light scribbles of a pen on a clipboard as I tried to turn my head to see who it was. That was a bad idea. As the second I turned my head to look, the world became a spinning light show of blurs and color. "Whoa there, Backlash! You need to stay down!" It was Dr. Fitz, which was odd seeing as I thought he'd be out getting supply cache that I directed him to. "I told you to remember to keep taking Radaway, but you just seem determined to die by radiation poisoning, so don't even know why I bother saving you anymore." The world reorientated itself as he stepped up beside my bed, tightening the straps holding me down in place. Actually, the only reason I agreed to it this time was because it seems like you've had another taint mutation. You are the only case that I can think of that anyone's ever seen that survived, too. Quite lucky to be alive at all, if you ask me. It didn't feel like I was lucky when it was happening. I could tell I was speaking with slurred words. I licked my lips for a moment, tasting the sharp tang of vodka on it, smirking as I realized that alcohol-induced numbness was a great alternative to Med-X. "So, what happened this time? Did I get superpowers?" He sighed, his expression looking heavily forlorn. "Backlash, there's no easy way to tell you this, but you have cancer." "Okay, that's kind of scary." "Oh, I see. Well, you can treat it, right? I mean, some cancers are removable as well, right?" "Yeah, but I just don't have that kind of luck. I know it's bad. It's just a question of how bad. Or is it the ones that you don't get better from?" "Backlash, do you know what makes Hydra so effective? It flows through your bloodstream and stimulates growth of new cells around the traumatized area, a sort of localized cancer." He shook his head, looking over the clipboard. "The problem is that the mutation used the Hydra as its fuel, amplifying the cell generation process whenever it's sat. Since your body's entirely been in such a bad condition..." He gave me a moment to let it soak in. "So, I'm pretty much a dead stallion walking." I sighed and closed my eyes. "Don't sugarcoat it. I know that I have a limited amount of time left." I let out a chuckle, and I thought to myself that this was what it came down to. How long do I have left? 6 months. With meds. Fuck. If I could get that autodoc you mentioned, I could guarantee at least a few years. But I know you have to go and stop that mare first. There's no sense in me telling you to stay here and rest when I know you'll just head out anyway. So go. I could tell this was a whole lot harder for him to say than it had been for me to hear. And he honestly didn't believe that I'd make it. If I didn't stop 42, I get to live long enough to either have her kill me, or watch she tears apart the wasteland. Or, I kill 42 and get to spend my last few months or years with my family and friends. It's not so bad then, Doc. I opened my eyes and smiled to him. I'm a tough customer. Maybe I'll just get over it. That was the biggest joke of my life. I'm sure of it. But as he stifled a laugh up through his own sad eyes, I wasn't so sure if I had told it to help him get through it, or if it was in fact more for myself. Do the others know? He shook his head. I believe in doctor-patient confidentiality, and why I've been casting this muting spell over us. His horn dropped the flare that I hadn't noticed it was giving off, and one of the tones in the wall returned to their normal, non-spell-covered look. He gave me a pleading look. The others should know of your condition, but if you don't want them to know, then I won't tell them. Please, keep this our secret for now, seeing as they've already been through enough the last few days. The doctor's magic undid the straps as I spoke, allowing me to sit up before he raised the bed's back and allowing me to lay upright. Just do me a favor and get that auto, Doc. I'll hold out as long as it takes you to save my flank yet again. My words made him laugh, giving me a nod before turning his head towards the door. The sound of his magic unhatching, it was slowly followed by a wave of ponies falling in, tumbling over each other as they presumably been pressing together trying to eavesdrop. Hey guys. I smiled as they picked themselves up off the floor, hoping that any look of worry I had would be misconstrued due to my half-burnt face or the alcohol in my system. How's Carlotta? Even the Rangers were here. Well, 2 were missing. Frosty and Fruit Cup were the only ones absent, as every pony crowded around my bed while I dizzily looked over them. She's doing all right. Skyline's voice sounded ragged and tired. Her words were full of the kind of pain I wouldn't even trade the mutations for. Even though she almost lost the 2 she's ever loved tonight, she still forced a smile and hugged me. Once Suture set all her fractures and stemmed the bleeding with some healing potions, he rigged her up in this cozy sling contraption. She said she'll need to be here until we can either get some Hydra or her bones heal naturally. I'm sure she'll want the Hydra. Bones can take months to heal on their own. Longo spoke as she stepped up to my side, leaning in close and giving me a soft kiss on the forehead. But, how are you? Doc said it was a taint mutation, but I wasn't sure what one it would be until I could ask you a few questions. Looks like I've got more acid blood. I chuckled, receiving an unamused look from her. No, seriously. It's like a roll of the die every time. And I guess I happened to get it again or something. So it's extra strength now. Please, don't worry, I'm fine. Just don't even get near my blood. And that was the biggest lie I had ever told any pony in my life. From the look on Sky's face, only the hint of doubt was prevalent. But just to be sure, it was time for me to change the subject. Hey, where's Frosty and Fruit Cup? That got a groan from Maple. She thought she could get your car repaired a bit while you were still getting checked over. Fruit is also trying to help, but I'm pretty sure, even if he had his other forehoof, it's still a lost cause. He rolled his eyes and shook his head. Even though his words were truthful, he did have an approving tone to it. That hunk of junk's more reliable to explode than help us in the future. Hey, don't talk about my baby like that. I frowned and shakily raised my hoof to the door. Okay, she won't be winning any ribbons for beauty, but she's still solid. A car like that, she'll take you anywhere you need to go until the day you die. 'Cause it's a death trap, Skyline commented with a smirk, stepping back from the bed with an unamused whistle. I groaned and shut my eyes, sitting for a moment before there was a knock at the door. I blinked and watched as the ponies before me separated, revealing DJ Pone 3 standing there. Mind if I talk to Mr. Backlash alone? His voice was soft, and full of both anger and profound sadness. No pony said a word as they shuffled out of the room, Dr. Fitz shutting the door as he walked through it. His horn flared as his magic enveloped us in a bubble, most likely the same muffling spell that the doc had. First off, how bad is it? And don't lie to me. I only want to hear the truth. It's bad. Doc says I've got 6 months. I shook my head lightly, watching as I didn't even face him. It won't matter, though. That got his ears to perk up. I'm sure you know about 42 by now. The thing is, I know what she's after now. DJ Pone 3 cocked an eyebrow. Oh? And what would that be? He sat down, levitating a cloth out and cleaning off his glasses. I thought she was after the pond. She still is, but she needs a mechanical component to run the cloning machine. I tossed the blanket that was covering me off, pushing myself off the table to go into my hooves. Pain spiked through my extremities for a moment. The alcohol in my system had been burning off quickly. There's only one working left that I know of in the wasteland, and you're not going to like where it is. Let me guess. It's here. He smirked, shaking his head as he put his glasses back on. No, even worse. It's under Friendship City. My words made his coat go paler than it already was. I could tell he was thinking of warning them, maybe planning on evacuating the population, but I couldn't let him. I need you to do something for me, and it's not going to be fun. First, I need you to contact Ditzy Do, however you can, and get her to come here with a sky cart. Next, I need you to contact whoever pony's in charge over at Friendship City, and inform them, politely if possible, that I need to smash their tidal generator to bits.